put down your baby and pick up your beer? Is this Brandon's voice coming through live on the Dad Jokes podcast? That can only mean one thing and one thing only. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. Jerry, I'm super excited. Of all the episodes we have had, this is going to be my favorite episode because I got to live through explaining what happened with me and my child being born. Now I get to just hear about you guys' amazing experience. So without further ado, let me introduce the new dad to the listeners of the Dad Jokes podcast, Mr. Jerry. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Brandon. I'm doing really, really good. We got a healthy baby. She's upstairs right now with my wife. And, I'm excited because we've been doing this for a while now. And I've kind of, I've been a dad in the sense that we had a baby, but my wife was pregnant. But now we both got babies. And this is when it's going to get really fun, Brandon. So I'm excited. Obviously, I'm excited about being a dad. And I'm excited, too, for kind of some podcast material that we're going to have here.
Oh, it's only going up from here, Pops. And that's what we're probably going to refer to Jerry as Pops for the rest of this episode, at least. Because what you guys don't know is he and I have talked a decent amount, but we haven't really gone over like the details of his child's birth. And so I want to actually start there. Normally we start off going over our weeks. Really, all I really care about is what happened with you. So, Jerry, the question that everyone wants to know is what you had, but you guys are going to have to wait for that a little bit. I want to know kind of how it all started. The night of, I know you guys, obviously you went to the hospital, but how did it all start? Walk us through.
Yeah, it was, it's funny. We talked about birth plan recently, and we talked about, basically the one thing about birth is that you can't plan it, and everyone's story is a little bit different. So obviously like that, ours is a little bit different. So basically, we had a due date that was last Saturday, and Saturday came and went, and then it was Sunday, and things were pretty normal. We were waiting, but no real signs, no contractions, nothing like that. And then all of a sudden, I get woken up in the middle of the night, and Macy's like, "Hey, my water broke." And I'm disoriented. It's the middle of the night. She runs to the bathroom. I look at my phone. I'm thinking it's like 3 or 4 o'clock. And the first thing I see on my phone, Brandon, is your fantasy team lost. And I went to bed, and my fantasy team had a 99% chance of winning. So at first I'm confused. I'm like, what's going on? What do you mean my fantasy team lost? And I'm looking into it, and all of a sudden it hits me, and I'm like, wait, you said your water broke? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh. So I start going into like
priorities.
Getting everything together. So I get the bags. The dog's freaking out a little bit. She can sense I'm a little bit anxious. And Macy's like, I'm going to take a shower. I'm like, we got to go. So I'm thinking, let's get to the hospital. And she's taking like a 15-minute shower. So I'm getting everything together. And then, we get to the hospital probably around 1:15. And we have to go in through triage because it's the middle of the night. So we get in. They're like, yep, she's dilated to a 3. She's having contractions. You guys are going to have this baby. We're like, great. So they hook us up into our room, and the midwives don't get in till 8. So that was kind of one thing that was a little bit different because we were expecting the midwives to be there and everything to be kind of kosher from the beginning, but they weren't there. So we had a nurse, and she was fantastic. But she gets us set up, and Macy starts having contractions, and, it's 2:30-ish in the morning now, and they're starting to become pretty intense, pretty painful. I'm trying to talk her through them, but they're regular. They're every 3 minutes or so. It's not like there's big gaps. So she's laboring. We're going through, and then it's probably, 6 or 7 in the morning, and she's like, hey, do you guys have something? Because she's having a lot of back pain. Like, she's doing back labor, a ton of pressure on her back. Her back's killing her. So they give her, I can't even remember the name of it, something that basically doesn't really kill the pain, but it kind of takes the edge off a little bit. And so she was able to sleep for maybe a half an hour. And then all of a sudden she gets up, having a lot more pain. They come in. She's dilated to like a 6 now. And then they, all of a sudden, she's having more contractions. And she's like, you know what? I think I need an epidural. So she gets one.
So to this process, I'm going to slow us down just a little bit. what's going through your head? I know you got woken up in the middle of the night. We all can relate to always not being for me, I'm not always my best if I'm like startled and awakened. But we're at the hospital. We're potentially talking about an epidural. Up until that point, like, what's going through your head?
It was kind of crazy because, at first I'm like, okay, let's get to the hospital. But then, like I said, we're in triage. Then we don't really see the midwives. We don't see an OB. And so I don't really know what to expect. Like, nobody's telling us, like, hey, this is kind of the time frame, or hey, this is kind of how you're progressing. So there's a lot of unknown, and, I'm seeing my wife in a lot of pain, and that's tough because I like to be in control, as you know, Brandon, and I'm not in control. So it was tough to see her in pain and not be able to do anything and not really know when the end is coming. Like, obviously, the baby's coming decently soon, but time was dragging on. Not to mention the fact that, I'm going on an hour and a half of sleep for the last 2 days to begin with, before we're even getting into anything new. So that was a little bit crazy. So in my head, I'm just kind of like, okay, what's the next steps? Where are we going from here? How do we fix this?
What do you think her mindset was?
I think her mindset was, when am I going to have this baby?
Thought you might say that.
Yeah, she, like I said, it was just a ton of pressure is the way she described it. A lot in her back. She carried the baby in her back, so that really, hurt.
Absolutely. So we're moving on to potentially the pain is causing her to add an epidural or have an epidural. Walk us through that.
So, yeah, she thinks she wants one, so they do a check. They're like, yep, you're pretty far dilated. We think that's a good idea. And then this is something I didn't know. So anyone listening, this might be good advice. I wasn't allowed to be in the room for this. They kicked me out into the waiting room, but like all of a sudden they're like, Dad, we're going to need you out of the room while we get this set up. Oh, okay. And they basically like, walk down this hall, go to the left, sit in there.
Was this the birthing room that you were in, or did they move her to the OR?
We're in the birthing room.
That kind of happened to me, but that's when I had that 27-minute experience. But
well, yeah, and then so that was the crazy part. So I'm sitting in there, and nobody told me like, hey, this is going to be about a half an hour, whatever, and nobody really even walked me there. I'm sitting there, and like 45 minutes go by, and nothing's happening, and I'm freaking out. I'm literally about to get up and walk to figure out what the heck is going on. They finally come grab me, and I come into the room, and then. At this time, she labors for a little bit longer, and it probably gets to about around 11 o'clock in the morning. And the nurse comes in, and she's talking to her, and she's like, yeah, Macy's like, hey, I had the urge to push, but I didn't want to. And she's like, what? She's like, you got to tell me those things. And I didn't even know this either. So she's like, you have the urge to push? She's like, yeah. She's like, well, we need to get people in here. So they get the midwives in, because the midwives are in at this point in time. They set up the table. They look at her. They're like, yeah, you're about ready to have this baby. We need to start pushing. So she starts to push, and, they get all the stuff set up on her, the monitors and whatnot, and she's pushing. And then, the baby's heart rate drops below 90. And they kind of did a good job of remaining calm, but I could tell, because I pick up on people's, body language, that something was wrong. So all of a sudden they like have her switch positions, and they put a different monitor on the baby that's actually like through the woman, where it actually attaches to the baby, not like over the top of the belly. And they're trying to move her into different positions and get that heart rate up. And it's probably about a half an hour. She's not pushing anymore. They don't have her stop pushing, where the baby's heart rate was pretty low. And, all of a sudden then it goes back up, and we're feeling good. But it was pretty serious there for a little bit, and it was kind of scary, and they weren't really saying much, but I could tell. And then later on, when they were talking to us, it was kind of a big deal. So that was nerve-wracking, and basically for the rest of the birth, all I'm doing is watching that monitor like, don't you go below 100. And so after they get the heart rate back up, they switch positions. She continues to push. And, like you kind of said, Brandon, they got me right in there. I'm holding the leg. I'm talking her through it. I'm all up in all of it. And if you know me, I'm not big on needles. I'm not big on blood, none of that. Yeah. But adrenaline took over. None of it bothered me. And I was just kind of like in how can I help mode.
Would you call yourself helpful or annoying during that time?
I think I actually was helpful. I was
Perfect.
very afraid of being annoying or of not doing it right. And I think early on, maybe around like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I probably was more annoying than helpful because there was nothing to do then.
Yeah.
But when she was actually pushing, I think I was helpful. I think she'd say that. So I hope she'd say that. So
that was always my fear if we had gotten to the pushing point. I was like, I'm probably just gonna be annoying.
Well, the good news is the midwives were telling me what to do. And then I was like trying to mimic some of what they were doing, but then just talk her through it. And she did great. I mean, she was a rock star. So she was pushing and pushing and pushing. And then finally, at about, 1:40, they're like, we're almost there. And then, our baby was born at 1:45. And the crazy part too, Brandon, is before this, we had multiple midwives in the room. We had the nurse. They had a resident in the room. So there's a lot of people in the room. And then when the heart rate dropped, they actually had the attending show up, and he was in the room for a while to make sure everything went okay. He was gone at this time though. So we had a lot of people in the room. But they early on were like, "Dad, you're gonna call out what the baby is when it's born." I'm like, "Okay." So the baby's being born, and they put my baby on my wife, and its butt's towards me. So one, I'm amazed at what just happened because I'm like, what the heck? This is just a crazy moment because, I mean, not to get into too much detail, but once a head comes out, the rest is like instantaneous. Like the baby's out. So at this point, though, they put the baby on her. I'm in amaze at the moment, so much emotion and everything. And Macy looks at me and goes, "What is it?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Because the baby's all curled up.
Oh, so y'all had to wait just a little bit longer.
So we did. So then they actually held up the baby and held the legs open, and I was able to call out what the baby was, which was a great moment.
So,
and, go ahead.
It's is it that time, Jerry? You think
it might be that time? I know I trolled you guys for a while before telling you, which maybe we'll get into.
Well, let's get into it now, really quick. we'll have the listeners wait for just a second. So, there's a group of us. Myself, Jerry, and a few other friends who we're all really close, and we all, from the moment we found out in the morning, I think you texted us all like 7:30, so you guys had been in the hospital for a few hours, or almost, I guess, probably like 4 or 5 hours at that point.
Yeah.
And Jerry just let us know, hey, today might be the day. We're hoping it's today. Keep your fingers crossed. Give us some prayers. And so the whole day we're going through, and we hadn't heard anything. We don't want to bother them. But we also are like, just want to make sure everybody's okay. So finally, Jerry, he texts us, I don't know, what was it, like 6, 7 o'clock that evening? Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I'm surprised you even, knowing you, surprised we got a text the same day anyway. So thank you for that.
Yep.
And the text basically started off where, and keep in mind, Jerry and Macy, his wife, want to know what the sex of their baby is more than anybody else. But boy, if I didn't feel like I was second. Maybe it's next to the grandparents. I felt like I wanted to know. I know a few other guys in that group felt like they really wanted to know. So, and Jerry knows this. So we then have to proceed to play a guessing game of the birth weight, the potential name of the baby. Well, the first
thing I said to you guys was, we have a healthy baby.
Yeah. We have a healthy baby with nothing, not what the sex of the baby is. And it's classic Jerry troll.
Well, and then I sent you guys a picture, and you can't really see anything. Yeah. You can see the baby's like head.
I'm glad to know that was all intentional.
So it was 100% intentional. So that was fun. But I won't make people wait any longer. They held up the legs, and we have a beautiful baby girl, and her name is Peyton Brady Alusky, and so she came out 7 pounds 9 ounces, 20 inches long, and is doing just amazing. But it was just a whirlwind of emotions. I won't lie to you, Brandon. I thought it was going to be a boy. Macy thought it was going to be a boy. So that moment was kind of a bit of a shock, which is why you have that moment. And it's funny now. I just said something to Macy the other day. I was like, it's funny that we thought she was a boy, because now I can't imagine having anything but a little girl. It's like instantly it was like, okay, this is my little girl. But to continue a little bit of kind of that experience, we have that great moment. Both her and I are super happy, overcome with emotion. But, a woman still goes through, birthing the placenta and some other things. And actually, at that point in time, Macy had a slight hemorrhage. And so, and again, the midwives did a great job being calm about it, but she's bleeding a lot and a lot's going on, but they did a great job of taking care of it. And so she's fine now and everything was good, but we had to deal with that afterwards while we're trying to do skin to skin and whatnot. So that was part of the reason why we didn't get down to actually the recovery room or whatever you want to call it, the room basically where you stay in for the duration after the baby's born. We didn't get down there until probably 5 o'clock or later, and then you got to go to the nursery, which is why we weren't able to tell family or friends for a while. So I know grandparents were blowing up my phone, but I was helping out with the birth, and then I was dealing with this stuff. It was crazy. So I felt bad because I know Macy's mom she was dying to know what was going on, but I wasn't by my phone, and I couldn't text anyone for a while. So it was finally nice once it all happened to get down to our room, and everyone was happy and healthy. So just an amazing experience, and didn't necessarily go according to plan all the way through, but everyone's happy and healthy now, so totally worth it, and definitely we're thankful for everything.
Yeah, and the tough part with what we're going through right now is you got grandparents potentially hitting your phone up. In normal cases, when we're not dealing with a pandemic, one of them, probably her mom, is going to be there with you guys, but it just when you're going through kind of the nature of what we're going through in the world right now, it's tough, and they absolutely want to stay in the loop. I got a couple quick hitter questions for you, Jerry. Did you get a chance to cut the cord?
I did. So here's a story too about that really quick. So I did get a chance to cut the cord, which was pretty awesome. And the midwives are so great. They're like, "Hey, do you want someone to take a picture?" And their hands are all, stuff all over them.
Great.
So they hand the camera to the resident that was in the room because it was the first time her seeing a birth. And she goes to take a picture. And later on, I saw that picture, Brandon. Definitely not me cutting the cord, definitely not visible. So they did not get that moment on camera. So I did get to do it, but I do not have photographic evidence of that. So I was a little bummed about that for like 10 seconds, and then I realized who cares. But it was kind of funny because they were even like, "Hey, you want to get this on camera?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." And then it didn't matter. So, but I did get to cut the cord.
Up until the point we're at right now, we'll get into kind of some of the recovery, and I'm talking to you while you guys are at home, so how that process has been, stuff like that. Was there anything that really surprised you about the process? And we've done a lot of research. We kind of thought think we know what to expect, but anything jump out at you that really surprised you?
What surprised me probably the most while we were there is that, we had a couple hiccups and some things that were kind of serious, but then once we went to the room we were staying in, we left the next day, about 4 or 5 o'clock, and that 24 hours after kind of in that room, we had very little interaction with hospital personnel. Like, we didn't have a lot of nurses talking to us or telling us what was going on or anything, which was just weird. We were happy with it. It was fine, but it just seemed strange. Nobody was like, "Hey, this is what you need to do or should be doing, or this is what to expect." Once we got down there that first night, I went to the nursery with the baby, and then we got back to the room and we saw maybe 2 people the whole night, and then the next day they took the baby for some tests and they give it a bath. Like, I think now instead of an hour after, it's like 6 hours after or something like that, they did the bath. And then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, we're going to have you checked up and we're going to check the baby one more time at 24 hours, and if everything's good, you can go home." And then we were home. So that surprised me. I thought that we would have a lot more like, "Hey, these are things you want to look for and not want to do," or, "Here's what you need to be looking, trying to do tonight, and this is what we need to see in order for you to go home." But there wasn't any of that.
I think that's a testament to just how different things can be, even in the same time frame, because I think I had the exact opposite experience where we couldn't. Now, it's a C-section versus a vaginal birth, but we were there for 2 days after, and I feel like I couldn't get a good night's sleep because we kept getting interrupted by nurse. So you must have slept great.
Well, actually, Brandon, if we're going to talk about sleeping, the first room we were in had that dreaded chair you spoke of. That chair is horrible because not only is it terrible,
thank you for confirming
but
that.
like it is not level. So
nope.
That was terrible. But the room we slept in afterwards, they didn't have the chair. They had like a couch bench thing that flipped. Like, basically it was like 2 seats and a middle table, and then the top part flipped on top of it, which you're shaking your head and you're probably thinking, "Wow, that's way better than what I had." It was better than the chair, it was, but not by much, because one, I'm not very tall, and it was too short for me. And two, it was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was almost like a bad air mattress where like you would sink into and whatnot. So again, it was better than nothing, but it was bizarre to say the least.
All I'm thinking of right now is perks of your wife working at the same hospital that she delivers at, where you get the freaking lazy boy, the fake lazy boy couch recliner, and I get the chair from death or from hell.
Actually, the lady who was wheeling us to the room, or wheeling her to the room, she wasn't wheeling me to the room. She's like, oh, they have really nice suites in the corners, but we're not going to one of those. I'm like, oh, thanks. She literally said that. I was like, what?
Who gets those?
I don't know. She just basically said they're full right now, but your room's nice too.
That's they must not know who you were.
But I think maybe that's why they didn't bug us as much, is because they can see in her chart that she's a nurse there. So maybe they just assumed she would know a lot of that stuff. I don't know. And again, we weren't really bothered by it. I just thought it was strange. So that was probably the strangest thing for me during that process.
So what was the process of like checkout and getting you guys out? And was anyone waiting for you guys when you got home?
Nope. So we found out we were going home. I wanted to delay telling people until we kind of got settled in and whatnot. And to be honest with you, the baby the first night at the hospital slept great. Like our first night was about as good as you probably could have. And so the baby had been really cooperative the whole time. We got her in her car seat. She cried while in the car seat, but once the car started moving, she was good. We got home. I was like, hey, why don't you feed her while I go take a shower really quick? And then when I get out, I'll hold her because, you'll have fed her, and then you can take a shower. And apparently that was the 10 minutes that everything went to chaos, because in that time my dog apparently was freaking out, wanted to go out. The baby wasn't cooperating, and it was a little bit chaotic, and I think my wife was overwhelmed for a minute, but then things were good after that. But nobody was over at that time. However, later that night, Macy needed a couple of things from the store that we didn't have, actually, surprisingly, because I thought we had everything. So she asked her mom to drop them off, and I'm like, are you going to have your mom just drop them off and leave? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, you're not going to do that. You're not going to have her drop stuff off for her and leave. You can tell her she can see the baby, I just, we wanted to get settled first, but we weren't going to do that. So then that night they came over for just a little bit to see the baby, her mom, dad, and sister, which was nice. They brought us dinner actually too. So that was kind of nice. And that first night at home, the baby was great again. Now the few nights since then,
I feel like this is foreshadowing.
Yeah, has been a little bit more rough, and maybe we'll get into that. But those first 2 nights, she was an angel. I won't lie; they're about as perfect as you could have hoped for the first 2 nights.
It seems so crazy. Like you're going through this, and Bryce is going to be 3 months old on Tuesday, and it feels like a year and a half ago that we were at the hospital. I remember the first night I thought was pretty good. I can't even remember what we how it was after that, really, because the cool thing is getting ready for this episode. I listened back to the Bryce episode, which I believe was episode 4, might have been episode 5, and I'd already forgotten certain things that happened during that time frame. But you mentioned in that 10-minute stretch, the dog wanted to go out. How has Raja been doing?
Raja's been great. I honestly am surprised at how great she's been. Not that I thought she'd be bad, but she's been great. She was excited when we got home. She was interested in the baby, but she wasn't like overly active, like when she was in the baby's face or annoying her. And she's been great since the baby's been here. She's been calm. She'll give the baby like a kiss or two, or like see what's going on, but doesn't like get in the baby's face. She hasn't been like, sometimes when she doesn't get a lot of attention, she can be really annoying or like want to bug you. She hasn't been doing that. When the baby cries, you can tell she's concerned. She wants to know what's going on, but she's not, again, being annoying about it. She's been great. I honestly am super proud of her, and I've been trying to give her as much attention as possible, which has been tough, but she's been fantastic.
It's crazy, like almost like it's second nature. I think we both had similar experience. Now, my dogs were a little bit, at least Remy was a little bit more annoying, I feel like, than Roger was in the beginning, but it was from that concern. The baby was crying. She would be whining, trying to get to him and figure out what was going on. But, I mean, it was 2 days of that, and basically just kind of like you said, perfect ever since. And, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that, especially when you have that concern going forward. So the in-laws come through that night. Has anyone else? Have you had any other visitors who have seen the baby? How'd that go?
Yeah, so my mom and my stepdad came by. And then was the next day? I think it was the next day. So not the day we got home, but the next day, and that was good too. They brought us food as well, which was great.
So that's in the theme.
Yeah, I mean, people have been fantastic, yourself included. You guys got us lunch today. We had someone Venmo us money for like, hey, buy food one day. We had people buy us gift cards. My mom's brought over dinner. Macy's parents brought over dinner, and then both of them brought us over Thanksgiving dinner. So we had multiple Thanksgivings, which was fantastic. Both my in-laws and my mom can cook, so that was great. But it was good. The funny part is Peyton, the first couple times that they came over, is just like a little angel when they come over, and Peyton's been good for the most part, but she's 0 to 100. When she cries, and I actually can hear her upstairs crying right now, she's got some lungs on her, and she can be loud, but the grandparents are over, and she's been a little angel, a little quiet girl. So I was like, oh, I see how it is. So
I can confirm that 3 months in that's the same in this household as well.
That's funny. Yeah, she's definitely been good when people have been over. She's been good, like I said, most of the time. Our only issues right now, and again, I don't want to say it's an issue, but like she likes to be held, and she doesn't love sleeping in her bassinet yet. So at nighttime, she'll get up to feed, and then if I'm holding her or Macy's holding her, she'll usually go to sleep. But if you try to lay her down, she'll get back up. So we're trying to find like a way to get her to sleep during the middle of the night. During the day, we can put her in her swing, we can put her in a bassinet, and seems to go to sleep. But at nighttime, for whatever reason, she doesn't. I think, though, she, for a couple nights, was doing what they call cluster feeding, which is where they feed multiple times in a short period of time. So when that happens, it's hard for them to get to go to sleep. So that was kind of overwhelming at first, I know, for Macy, because it seemed like she couldn't make the baby happy, but I think she was just hungry. So, but she's been, like I said, she's been pretty good. I know at night's tough, but honestly, if I pick her up and I hold her the way I do, she almost instantly stops crying almost all the time, knock on wood, for now. But it's just tough. Like, we're taking shifts at night, so we're just trying to figure out, how to feed her, get her changed, and then get her to lay down and stay asleep for at least a couple hours without one of us having to be awake holding her or, at least watching her. So we're working through it, but we'll get there.
When Bryce first got home, we had very similar situations happen, and they say that, like, depending on the baby, for a lot of people, nighttime is actually when the baby is used to being awake, while mom is sleeping, normally while the baby was in mom's stomach. So it seemed to ring true. I don't know how scientific that is, but it seemed to ring true for us as well. But if Peyton's anything like Bryce, it does get better. It might get better for a couple weeks, and then you might hit a tough stretch for just a little bit. But we're to the point now where the other night he woke up one time to feed at night, and we were good. So he went a couple, like, basically 5-hour stretches, which is it's encouraging. Especially, you may not realize it yet, and hopefully you don't have to, but you might be coming up on a couple more sleepless nights, unfortunately. One thing I forgot to ask you, and I wanted to, when you first saw her, what went through your mind?
Oh man, it was, you know me, Brandon. I'm not an overly emotional person. I've never had.
You weren't.
But I was. It just hit me, and I was expecting to feel that love and that connection instantly, which I did. But the protectiveness that I felt like instantly was just crazy and overwhelming. Like, I just wanted to protect that baby and take care of her, like, right from the get. And it's funny because your wife's pregnant for 9 months, and you're having a baby and stuff, and you're excited about it. But then once they're born, it's like that's my baby, and I'm not gonna let anything hurt them in the entire world, and I'm gonna do everything for them. So, and it's been just crazy. I texted you the other day. We're watching the Lions game, and Big Sean did the halftime show and brought his family out at the end, and I'm getting like emotional about it. I'm like, what? It's just, but it plays with your emotions. Stuff just gets to you, and it was just a really cool moment. But the other thing that went through my mind too, that I wasn't expecting, is just the admiration and awe I had of Macy for going through what she went through, and then just seeing her give birth was just crazy. And then afterwards, a lot of times you see people or hear about people that are kind of out of it after they give birth. She was right away like wanting the baby and seemed totally in tune, which just impressed me more. So I was definitely in awe of her and more in love with her than ever before. And just that love you have for the new baby is just crazy.
It absolutely is, and it just watching them. And the way I put it is like, I feel like it might be a selfish way to think of this, but like it hit me. It was like you're going through this for me, basically. Mm-hmm. Like you putting your body through all this. Obviously, it's their baby too. Allegedly, I'm joking. But like what we witness in that room that they go through is absolutely a miracle. And then the pain and everything that you see, and I'm watching it, I'm like, man, I don't know if I could do that.
Oh, no, for sure.
As guys, you think about it beforehand, like, I can't have a baby. It's crazy how we like play around with that and like we joke about it amongst ourselves, but like that's just something to be commended. And then they're willing to go back and do it again.
That's
like
the
Kelsey
crazy
right
part.
now. Like I legitimately, just candidly, we were planning on having like 2 kids and being out. Like we didn't want to have an only child necessarily. We wanted to try, if we were blessed enough to do it, have a couple kids and move on. I legitimately think Kelsey would have 117 kids right now if it was possible. She's just so in love with Bryce. But
well, we were being wheeled down to the recovery room, and the lady looked at Macy, the nurse, and she's like, "So how many kids do you want?" And Macy looked at her and goes, "You're asking me that now?" She's like, "I'm just messing with you, sweetheart." But now there's been a while. I can see that happening, because it is crazy how, that experience is just like, what did we get ourselves into? What is going on to like the baby's born? And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like that part almost is like, okay, I don't want to say who cares, because it is a huge deal, but it's just put in the back burner or the back of your mind because you're just focused on that baby being born, and they're so perfect that you don't think as much about it as you probably thought you would in that moment. Like, this is scarred in my head forever, but yeah, it's not.
It probably would be for me if I had to go through.
Yeah, if it was me and you, we would be one and done for sure. We probably need to be one and done. We probably would be.
It would have been none and done.
Just
but adoption is always an option. Exactly. Well, girl dad Jerry, is there anything you feel like I haven't asked you about that day and the day since then that you want the people to know?
Well, one, I've had a lot of people that have kind of mentioned her name, because her name's Peyton Brady, which again is the names of 2 very famous quarterbacks, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And anyone
and
knows
you're a Michigan fan.
I'm a huge Michigan fan. I actually have a picture that I'm looking at right now of Tom Brady in a Michigan uniform. Big Tom Brady fan. But the name has nothing to do with either. And the funny part is, a lot of people think the Brady came from me because I'm such a Tom Brady fan. Which also, Brandon, let's just talk about the fact that Michigan beat Ohio State today. So this is just a great.
What are we both wearing right now?
We're both wearing Michigan gear, and today has just been a great day. This week has just been awesome. Peyton is 1-0 as a Michigan fan and undefeated against Ohio State. So that is fantastic in itself. But to go back to my story, Brady was Macy's favorite name. She told me that, probably a year into dating, you talk about baby names and things like that. And Brady was her favorite name always for a girl. And a lot of people know that if we have a boy, it's probably going to be named after me, because my dad, my grandpa, myself all have the same name. So I was like, well, yeah, that's your favorite name. I like that name. It's cute. Let's go with Brady. And then my sister had my latest nephew, and his name's Braden. And those names are really, really close. And so Macy's like, I don't want to have names that close together. So then we were kicking around a bunch of names, and
So Brianna ruined your name.
Oh, she did. And my favorite name for a girl is Ariana, which is my goddaughter, her first.
Those are strong names.
She's done it twice. But
good job, Brianna.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't know about Brady until after the baby, I told her. But anyway, so she decided we weren't going to have Brady. And so we were going through names, and I love the name Peyton for girls. Just always have. Like, not from someone or anything. I just thought it was a great name for a girl. And Macy liked the name too. So we were going to have Peyton in a different middle name. And then I was like, well, you love the name Brady. Why don't we make that the middle name? And she's like, do you think? I was like, yeah, it's a middle name. So we went with Peyton Brady. But again, neither had anything to do with the quarterbacks. It is kind of a cute coincidence. But that's kind of just how we came up with the name. Peyton was from me and Brady was from her. So,
I love the name. Two, I love in people finding out every single person thought that it was Michigan related and or Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And so they hear the name, they smile, and then it hits what they think hits them, and then they always like have a quizzical look and ask the question. So I mean, you can't beat it. You guys did a good job naming them. Names are tough, man.
They are, and people have already started calling her Peanut Butter. My brother called her PB12. So we got some nicknames going already.
Good job, Nick.
But yeah, the only other thing I'll say is it's been great. The one thing that I would say that surprised me the most since we've been home, Brandon, that I was not expecting is time. I'm thinking, okay, we're home. We're probably getting less sleep than ever before. And I wasn't thinking in my head like, hey, I'm going to have a ton of time to do stuff. But I'm thinking like days are going to take a while. I'm going to have I'll be with the baby. And I swear I wake up and, I wake up early, 7 o'clock or whatever, maybe I'm with the baby. And it's 6 p.m. the next time I look at my phone. And I'm like, what? And I haven't gotten anything done. And I can't describe where the time's gone. And that's just been the craziest thing. Every single day since I've been home, it seems like the days have just flown by. And I can't describe it. That's been a shock to me.
Well, the big thing I think is we're both busybodies and are constantly moving to get stuff done, whether it be at home or at work. But especially in those, unfortunately for dads, it is depending on where you work, you have a limited time. And I think the time is going quickly for you, but don't sweat it. Like, don't sweat the days and worrying about getting stuff done. Like it's right now is time for you and Peyton and Macy and just establishing that bond. And if you're anything like me, I was just sitting there. That time's going by fast, but I'm sitting there holding them. For me, Bryce, you're holding Peyton, and like just watching every little movement their face makes, and it's amazing. And it doesn't really get much better than this. But
yeah, I mean, my phone's already out of storage, I think, from pictures. And
you need to look up iCloud, Jerry. We've talked about this before.
No, we've
99 cents, bro.
Tons of pictures, tons of appreciation.
It's tons of the same picture too. Like if you look at your camera roll, it's just like you trying to get the perfect shot.
So you've taken 7 in a row, but then you don't want to get rid of one, even though you should get rid of 6 of the 7.
Yeah,
but
I have not deleted a picture in like months.
Yeah, no, it's just been incredible, and like I said, I'm already dreading going back to work and trying not to think about that now because I still have a few days, but it's been great, and I couldn't be any happier, and like I said, it's funny because I was thinking, boy, but I'm a girl dad now, and I love every second of it, so I'm excited.
Which also means that this is going to be great for. This is the first thing I think I text you, Jerry, when we find out it was a girl. It's like, perfect. That's great for the podcast.
It really is.
We got a
Two
boy
different
dad.
perspectives. We
got a girl dad, and you guys will be able to grow up with us as fathers, but also grow up with Bryce and Peyton, at least until Peyton turns 12, in which time Bryce is not allowed to hang out with her anymore, according to Jerry. So we always have that. But the casualty of me playing host, I think you do a great job of it, Jerry, but we didn't start off with your dad joke.
I got one for you. Ready?
I'm absolutely ready to beat you.
Brandon,
I'm waiting with bated breath.
Did you hear about the T-Rex who sells guns?
I hope this is a short arm joke. I didn't hear.
Well, he's a small arms dealer.
Yes. I love it.
Dinosaurs are great too, by the way, because you can there's girl dinosaur stuff out there for babies, and we have a bunch, and it's super cute. So big dinosaur fan right now.
It's definitely, I think, Kelsey, my wife, pointed this out. It is more fun shopping for girl baby clothes than it is boy baby clothes.
Literally more. We were just putting stuff away. I can't fit it all in dressers already because people just brought us stuff and bought us stuff. It's insane. We probably have 80 pajamas.
It could be worse.
I mean, yes, it could. It's insane. She's gonna wear one pajama and throw it away.
Well, Jerry, My dad joke for today goes like this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
How do you stop an astronaut baby from crying?
I don't know.
You rock it.
That's decent. I like it.
He said decent because he thought his was strong.
I did think. I mean, dinosaurs are great. Also,
Yours-
Brandon, I will
yours is
mention
strong.
this. I haven't said this, but the very first diaper I changed got pooped on. So
I forgot to ask you about that.
I got pooped on twice of the first 3 diapers I changed, and I got
Yes.
peed on the next day. So I've been pooped on and peed on already, but literally changed a diaper, got pooped on the very first diaper I changed, which is just was great.
That's I have not been pooped on yet. Kelsey just got pooped on earlier today for like the first time, but I don't know how has diaper changing been for you. You feel like it's harder or easier than you thought?
Oh, it's easier. It's weird. Like I probably changed just as many, if not more, the diapers than Macy, and not because it's like, but it just doesn't bother me like I thought it would. At least not right now, and it's been good. Although I will say that Peyton hates having her diaper changed, so that's the one negative thing about it. She cannot stand it. So
She'll probably get used to it.
she probably
Has
will.
the butt spatula been used yet?
Yes, today for the first time I did use that. But here's a cool story too, really quick. We gave Peyton her first bath yesterday, and we bathed her. She hated it, and we had her all wrapped up. Macy did. I took a picture. She's like, "You take a picture or get a picture with her." I was like, "Okay, here's my phone." I grabbed her. She's wrapped in her blanket, and she pooped in the blanket right after the bath, like a bunch. So again, pooped on, and again, we just had a bath and poop all over. So that was fantastic.
I'm sensing some consistencies, but I like it.
Yes.
Well, you're handling diapers way, way better than I did. I changed a ton of diapers, but it took me like 2 weeks to really get like a process down. I was the slowest diaper changer you've ever met. I feel very confident. Like I think I could go to the Olympics right now.
There you go.
Of diaper changing. I feel great now.
Well, our sizes are a little messed up. That's the only thing that's tough for us. She's like in between, kind of like a
between?
newborn to one. Like a one's way too big,
That
but
is
a
a
newborn's a
weird
little bit
time.
tough. So yeah.
Use just like the Pampers newborn.
There you go.
Pampers ones. Pampers ones are a little smaller than like the Huggies, but I think I think this lived up to my expectations, Jerry. The hearing about Peyton being born was great. I've been waiting to have this conversation with you. I couldn't be more excited to see our kids grow up together, and it's going to be great. The podcast going forward, we're going to have a lot of new content for you guys. Make sure you check out our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram at the Dad Jokes Podcast on both platforms. You're going to see a lot coming out. We've been waiting for this moment. But for Jerry, Girl Dad, Pops Jerry, this is Brandon, and this has been Dad Jokes.
Peyton Brady.